What's going on, guys? Carmine here, back with another Q&A for you, but this time focusing on episode 8 of season 6. Now, before I begin, I want to thank you all for this gigantic support I've received regarding my last episode review, and in this season overall. I didn't give that episode a good review, and I stand by that, but this being YouTube and the internet, I expected people to unsubscribe and just hate on me for the whole week, but a lot of you guys were on my side, and even some of you who disagree with me were actually nice about it. I aim to please, but also to stay true to myself, and according to you guys, I accomplished that. So thanks for being some of the best viewers and subscribers any channel could ask for. Now with that out of the way, let's get on to it. First question, how did Arya survive her stab wounds? This has been a subject of much discussion among the community, with many of you calling bullshit on it, and I completely side with you, but let me offer some arguments here. First, I have a friend of mine who watches the show, and I spoke to her about Arya being stabbed. She's a nurse in New York City and tells me she's seen people come into the hospital with multiple stab wounds all the time. Sometimes in places you think they could never survive, but a lot of them do. Apparently it's possible to survive multiple stab wounds to the stomach and avoid death, but what she called bullshit on, as did I, is why didn't the wave slice Arya's throat and not her stomach? If you go back to episode 7, you'll see that the wave slashes Arya across the stomach, which when I first saw, I had to go back and rewind because I swore she cut Arya's throat. But she didn't. She slashed Arya across the stomach and stabbed her multiple times. However, my friend cannot understand how Arya survived jumping into dirty canal water to escape the wave. This is medieval times, and that water is probably very dirty, from people going to the bathroom in it all the time, to people throwing dead bodies or other rotting animals in there. Arya should have gotten some kind of infection from jumping in there and swimming through it. She could have survived being stabbed multiple times if the waif was too eager and missed her vitals, but the water getting in and around the wound should have given her some kind of infection, but here is where I argue against this. This is gonna sound like such bullshit from my end, but hear me out. The reason Arya's wounds probably weren't infected after that swim was because she drank from that well inside the House of Black and White. The water, if you consume it and don't die, probably gives you some immunities to all kinds of disease and poisons. To me, that is the best explanation I can think of because I know some people are calling bullshit on it. So yeah, I had to argue both sides here. Next question, Varys leaving the city just before the Masters attack. Coincidence? I stand by my theory that Dario is the Harpy, but Varys leaving just in time does seem very suspicious indeed. To be honest, I do think it's just a coincidence, but at the same time, it's necessary to move his storyline along. There was nothing for Varys to do there while the city was under siege. Missandei and Grey Worm probably know more about Meereen than he does, so he probably couldn't help tearing out like he did when Stannis was attacking the Blackwater. Not only that, but the showrunners don't want Varys and Dany in the same room, because if that happens, Varys will shed light on some of the mysteries behind the Targaryen lineage that they're probably saving for the final season. Much of his past is still a mystery, with some believing that he is a Targaryen himself, which would explain the need to shave his head. But regardless, Varys is still the key to a lot of mysteries in the show, and we can't have a meeting between them just yet. But I do agree that it is a weird coincidence, but I think it's just that. I really hope he doesn't turn out to be like the Harpy, because it would make no sense to me. He wants her to come over to Westeros, and she can't take much of the kingdoms without support and armies behind her. The Harpies are destroying the number of her Unsullied, and that hurts the cause. Next question, who do you think Arya will go after first when she returns to Westeros? Walder Frey. He was brought back for a reason, just like young Benjen and Bran's vision. These people are brought back to remind us that they still exist. Walder Frey will probably be Arya's first target, especially considering he'll be easier to take out. Arya doesn't know much about him, but she's been taught to carefully scout out the situation and adapt to her surroundings. Not only that, but the show has also made it very clear that Walder has a new young wife who looks to be about Arya's age. The writing is on the wall, and so will be his blood. I just want her to say, "The North remembers," right before she kills him. But I do wonder if Jaime will be caught up in her revenge. We see the Lannister soldiers in the dining hall with Walder Frey and his men. If Arya plans on taking them out at once, then how will she deal with Jaime? Maybe she does end up taking the place of Stoneheart after all. Next question, do you believe the rumors out there that Ramsay will not die this season and instead be captured prisoner? I think Ramsay's death will be this season, but not until episode 10. He is the mastermind behind all of this, but I do hope to God that they don't do some kind of Hollywood-esque style fighting between Jon and Ramsay, where they're on the roof of Winterfell and Ramsay cut off Jon's hand and Jon is dangling from the edge and Ramsay tells him, "Join me, bastard, and together we can end this destructive conflict and bring order to the North." And then Jon yells at him, "I'll never join you." I'm sure you all know where this is going, so I won't continue, but I do think that he'll die I don't think he'll die in the next episode, but maybe 10, and that leads me to the next question. If you could choose, how would you like to see Ramsay die? Smiling and laughing all the way through. It would be an injustice to have one of the greatest television villains to be killed like a bitch. That would piss me off so much you have no idea. Ramsay is the Joker of Game of Thrones, and the only way he should ever go out is not in a big way, but in a nice act of revenge, maybe from Sansa or Melisandre having him burned. Instead of screaming, he'd be laughing, and his laughter would echo through the night and send chills down everyone's spine. That's how I would have him go down, and I hope that's how they do it. Next question, how do you feel about the season so far? I think it's better than Season 2, but nowhere near as amazing as Season 1. There have been a lot of wasted scenes and potential that come from their inability to have storylines go anywhere decent, probably due to time constraints. I don't know why the past episodes have been so short, but because of that, we have some episodes absolutely wasted on storylines that go nowhere or have anticlimactic resolutions. Not only that, but they took the liberty to introduce a new character, and we've barely seen him do much, other than grab his cock and chase Theon and Yara out of the Iron Islands. This season felt really stretched out, almost like it was originally planned to be 7 episodes instead of 10, but because HBO wanted a full season, they decided to add extra stuff in there so they could extend it to 45 minutes. I feel like if this season was shorter, it would have been better, but that's also sad, because you know they could have filled it with amazing things, but chose instead to kill off characters that could have helped extend the runtime and make it feel like they weren't rushing things to the finale. Next question, do you think Cersei will burn King's Landing this season? Something big is coming with Cersei and the High Sparrow in episode 10, now that her trial by combat is thrown out the window. I still believe that Tommen is in on some kind of master plan with Cersei, which I think would be a great twist, but it's starting to look unlikely. The only power move Cersei could make now is to reinstate the trial by combat by making Tommen's claim to the throne a lie. The king issued an order, but if he's not the rightful king, then the order is invalid. I thought Cersei would reveal who Tommen's true father is, but it would also make for a great twist and a smack in the face of the High Sparrow who believes he can control the king. As for the Mad Queen theory, some believe that Bran's vision of the past with the wildfire is also a vision of the future. Cersei could have had Qyburn spies find the location of some more wildfire so she could burn the Great Sept along with most of the city. She's becoming paranoid and seeing enemies in every corner. She is alone. It's becoming very possible that she could repeat the same mistakes the Mad King made, and maybe because of that, she'll end up being killed by Jaime in a murder-suicide type of situation. Jaime loves Cersei, but if she goes insane and can't come back, then he'd have no choice. It would be a fitting end for both of them and very Shakespearean. But no, I don't believe that'll be this season. And last question, do you think all the Starks will reunite in episode 10? I don't think all of them will. The most possible outcome is Bran meeting back up with Jon and Sansa at Winterfell. Rickon will definitely die, and the reason I say that is because we haven't seen him at all this season. I don't see the point in reintroducing us to him if he's sticking around. Just like the cameos we've gotten this season that have been short, he's as good as dead. Benjen will most likely not be able to pass through the wall because he was brought back by the children's magic, and magical creatures cannot pass the wall. Not only that, but I believe he will probably end up sacrificing himself to cover Bran and Mira's escape when the White Walkers go after them. So by next season, we may have Sansa, Jon, and Bran together, but I doubt Arya will ever come back, and I would like that better. Arya is a lone wolf, and she's much more interesting doing her own thing, being all ninja-like. I just hope we see a vision of her in the future being a badass assassin. But thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed, show your support and hit that like button, subscribe for more videos, and I'll see you all next time. Have a good one.